got to find a way to turn that down. That's getting pretty loud. Maybe it's just my headset. So, Kevin here. Video number 4 on the J.Whitcher controversy. We might end up banging all of them out tonight. But this one isn't... I don't believe Joel is in this one. I can double check, but it's only almost 3 minutes long. So we'll let this one... We'll let this one cruise out, but this one was posted on the same Church of Tolerance page, and we'll go from there. So I believe this is Joel's wife, the woman talking, and then obviously church goes. So Joel's next. It looks like Joel's next door. It's a pretty.
We are expanding His kingdom. The focus has to be on Him, Jesus Christ. We're expanding His kingdom beyond these walls, into the community, into the governmental positions in Olean, into the school systems, into the businesses, okay? We're expanding His kingdom.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, what do you, it looks like they added, during their editing, they added, like, little titles here. So, yeah, I mean, we're getting back into that infiltration, right? So, like, if a Christian wants to even promote their Christian values and their heritage and their values, their religion, their sexual orientation of being straight, like even just expel that outwards, right? Like just saying this is who I am and you can't change that, and I will, that is what drives me to act and live and breathe and eat and fornicate the way that I do as a straight Christian male and blah blah blah. So I mean, okay, so that's right, and that's what these people don't like. Okay, so let's take their side of the coin then. I do not want to see outward displays of individuality from homosexual teachers or lesbian teachers. I would not want to see that then, right? That would be a fair exchange, right? But as soon as school started opening, all I heard on the news networks, the major ones, CNN, MSNBC, was, oh, these brave teachers, they're coming out, they're explaining their student what it's like to be gay and all this other stuff, or be lesbian, or being part of the LGBTQ plus community. And it's like, why? If you come out and say that you're Christian and straight, you're crucified. Just because years ago you used to be vilified as a homosexual, most of the world tries to reach equilibrium, right? But just because a certain group of people get rights does not mean that the rights had to be taken from somewhere, right? So if somebody was beating up on gays and now they don't, and the gays have the same rights as everybody else, right? That's the assumption, is that they didn't have all these rights. Well, they did, but nobody enforced them, and they let assholes just beat up on them. Okay, now we're enforcing it, right? But you always had those rights. Those rights always existed. Just nobody was protecting them. And right now, everyone's treating it like, well, we gave the rights to the gays now, so all the straight people, they're up for what once was gay bashing. We are going to do straight bashing, and because we only have so many rights to give out, and if we gave them to the gays, we have to take them away from the straights. Like that, no, it doesn't work. So now they both have rights, and they both can hate each other. Like, let's try not to, but at the same time, like, we got to treat everybody equal, though. There's where your equilibrium comes in. So, like, you can't sit there and be like, well, now we have rights, so now we're going to promote being gay and everything. Well, that means that the straight Christian principal, who's also a pastor because he's so faithful in his religion, also has the right to have outward displays of his belief system and his moral code and whatever else that makes him who he is. But no, we can't do that because it's not his time. But you know what? It doesn't matter if it's his time or not. He still has those rights. Those rights stay. That's it. I'm not beating up on those teachers. Hey, if you want to promote the fact that you're gay, then you got to let him promote the fact that he's straight. if you promote the fact that you're secular, you have to let him promote the fact that he's not, that he has a religion that's founded in whatever values he has. That's it. That's it. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. I don't know why everybody's. I'm proud to have had him as a middle school principal for our daughter, who just went to the high school, so now she doesn't have him anymore. But I believe she had him for a brief period of time before she, because there's like the lower of the intermediate, like as you get into the middle school, there's like, 2 grades, and then there's 2 more grades or something like that, and they split it between him and Jerry Tritley. So I mean, I'm glad that we had both of them, and I've only dealt with Tritley. I've met Joel a few times, and he seems like a stand-up guy, and most people I know that know him say he's a stand-up guy. And for these videos, they're not doing him any harm. But anyways, we're 6 minutes of me just ranting, and I've only given you 22 seconds of the video.
Flip the tables in Arizona. Flip the tables that they will come forth and reveal the truth of the enemy's plan to take down this Trump, to take down this trumpet, this prophetic trumpet that has been called into a second term. Lord.
So I don't know what he's speaking. I don't know if it's Latin. I don't know if it's in tongues. I'm not that familiar. So I'm assuming, let's chalk it up to prayer, to a sermon, right? So he can say whatever he wants on the sermon floor from that pulpit. But he's saying that, and he's saying we need to get rid of the trumpet. Now I'm assuming the trumpet is a mouthpiece for the devil or what have you. And he's wishing bad things on the president, which, I mean, the president wishes bad things on any of us unvaccinated, so might as well wish him back, right? I don't think the president's doing a great job. I think he's doing a horrible job because he's not an animate object. But that said, I don't
take the tongues out of the liars. Render them defenseless. Take their tongue from them. Stitch their lips together. As a church, we will not support the Democratic Party. We will not support their demonic. Abortion is outside.
Okay, so he's free to say that. See what the problem is. I don't support the Democratic Party. If you support the Democratic Party, I mean, you might make an argument that they might lose their tax-exempt status because they're bringing up religion. But then, I mean, Kamala Harris, 2 days ago, was given, or Sunday or over the weekend, was doing political speeches in a church. So, I mean, supporting the Georgia gubernatorial candidate or whatever's going on in Georgia. You gotta play. Both rules have to go both ways, guys. You can't.
Of the government of God. Gay marriage is outside of the government of God.
Okay, so that's in the scripture, right? So I'm not gonna argue with them on abortion. They're human beings. They're human beings the moment they're created. Once the seed cracks open in his life, you know what I mean? Once the seed is fertilized, I mean that's a plant, right? Same thing here. Except human beings have rights as soon as they become human beings. So now that's the definition of a human being. So it's not that you're worrying about somebody else's bodily autonomy. It's that you're now murdering somebody else because of somebody else's medical rights. Like, oh, my grandfather's sick, so I have to kill you. That's my argument. It's not a clump of cells. It's a human being. It's a baby. So he's saying. So here's the thing: is what he's saying. You could make illegal. You could make legal, right? Like abortion could be illegal, and if you go get one done, yeah, you could be arrested. But it's your belief system that it should be legal. The converse happens here. They believe it should be illegal, and it's legal. So the things that are legal don't always have to be right. It all depends on your perspective. I align with Joel on the pro-life perspective. Do I align with him on the gay marriage thing? No, but I don't. Here's this is where you get into the weeds a little bit on why guys like Joel and Christians in their scripture will talk about how gay marriage is not. They don't like it on two fronts. Leviticus talks about, and this is, like I said, I'm roughly versed in a lot of Christian stuff. I was baptized Catholic. Leviticus talks about how homosexuality is an abomination to their God, right? Okay, boom. So there you go. That's why they don't like gay people. They don't hate them. They just think that they're sinners for violating their scripture. If they attack them, then that's a problem. If they can still feel angry towards them because they're a sinner. That's fine, right? Then you get into the whole, well, marriages were a religious thing to start with. So now all of a sudden, scripture showing that marriage is a union of two people in front of God, right? That's the Christian basis for it. So all of a sudden, two people have a union in front of God. Well, why would you do that if you're doing it sinfully, right? Like that kind of voids it. So their thought process is, well, then it can't be marriage. It's got to be something else. Let's call it, gay union, right? That's their argument. I'm just telling you where they're coming from. But then you get into these arguments that are in the weeds. So he's saying that in God's kingdom, his laws, God's laws are above man's laws, and man's laws might be different, and so he's going to follow these laws. And if they match or they're neutral, like these laws down here are neutral to those laws, then he'll follow those. But if they're against those laws up there, then he's not going to follow them. And and that's, or he should take less. I don't know. That's my take. That's
Muslims. That's outside of the government of God.
Right. He's not talking about killing the Muslims. He's saying that they've got scripture, and it says that, like, you must find God. You must believe what they believe. So Christians in and of themselves are, they want you to join, and if you don't join, you're a sinner because you don't believe. And that's it. I mean, that's really it. You're a sinner if you don't believe, right? They probably consider me a sinner, right? So that's really where, they're not. He's not sitting there like, let's kill all the Muslims, let's kill all the gays, and let's rip these babies out of these women's stomachs so we can save them from the abortion chamber, right? Like he's not saying that aggressively. He's pointing out things that are violating, like, don't hold a god, a false god above, an idol above God, right? That's, the golden calf, right? And then they, so that, well, they believe in Allah, who is not the same God, right? I'm surprised he didn't bring up Hindus and Buddhists and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, the Buddhists don't believe in God; they're godless people. That's a sin. He's quoting his scripture. He's at his church. It's not social. We call it social media. Everything on the internet is social media, right? They're posting this through the church's website, and they host it on YouTube, which you could call it a social media site. The problem is it's not. It's a hosting platform, and that's what it is. They're using it as a platform so people that are members of this church or want to join this church or want to see what they're saying can watch them. He's not sitting on his own personal thing or on the school's thing and doing it. This is becoming nonsense.
Jesus is the head of government. When you come here, you get delivered of addiction. That you get healed of cancer. My goodness. 46% of the Church of Jesus Christ voted for the murder and sacrifice of children, homosexuality, racism, anti-Israel, tolerance for anything that is anti-Christ, manipulation, fear, poverty, tracing, shipping, sex change operations for children, taking power from parents to parent, and forcing Christian churches to marry homosexuals. You vote.
Right. Okay. I mean, what are you going to argue with him on? it is unconstitutional. I'm going to agree with them on most of those issues. It's unconstitutional for you to, let's go back.
Children, homosexuals healed of cancer. My goodness. 46% of the Church of Jesus Christ voted for the murder and sacrifice of children, homosexuality, racism, anti-Israel.
Okay, so he's still hung up on the homosexuality thing, right? Okay, so yeah, so they voted for Joe Biden. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about how they voted for Joe Biden. Joe Biden is pro-homosexuality. These guys don't believe in that, so obviously they voted for that. He's pro-abortion. They don't believe in that.
Tolerance for anything that is Jesus Christ voted for the murder and sacrifice of children, homosexuality, racism.
The racism part. The racism part is because you're voting for people that think that equity and inclusion is what it is, and it's not. Equity means we all end up in the same place, which is not fair in and of itself. So, and it doesn't, and it's regardless of race. But now we're also segregating kids in school by skin color. We're creating safe spaces that are we used to call it segregation. Now we don't. We call it safe spaces, and we call it inclusion. But it's excluding people. It's separating people into boxes, and that's what's happening from the left perspective. And he's pointing that out.
Anti-Israel.
Yep. You have a lot of. You've got probably screwing up her name. Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib at our U.S. At the federal level. They've spoken out openly anti-Semitic stuff against Israel. That's why we fly a flag here, pro-Israel here at the studio, because we believe that Israel is not harming kids, but Hamas is out there hiding behind kids, and then, hey, don't blow me up. And then when they see you drop the bomb and you put the bomb down and you say, all right, I'm not going to blow you because you got a kid in front of you, they cut the kid's throat and they go hide behind the next kid. So they're out there killing kids and using the kids as human shields. And what do you want them to do? And then they're blowing up stuff in Israel. So.
Tolerance for anything that is antichrist, manipulation, fear, poverty, tracing, shipping, sex change operations for children, taking power from parents to parent, and forcing Christian churches to marry homosexuals.
I don't think they should force the Christian churches to do that. If they don't believe that if they believe homosexuality is a sin, why would they do them? Go get married in your own church. I agree with that. If I was gay, I wouldn't go to your church to get married because you don't like gay people. You don't. That's it. You don't like their life choices. That's really what it is. Like, if you think that murder is good and Joel's religion says, thou shalt not murder, guess what? You don't hang out at his church being a murderer. The same thing. I'm not comparing homosexual. I'm not trying to compare homosexuals to murderers, but I'm saying is in their categories, if it's a sin, it's a sin. It doesn't matter what kind of sin it is. It's just a sin. It's in the book. That's it. Might as well be a murderer to these folks. That's what they're getting into. That's it. It's their belief system.
You voted. Someone asked me last week, where's it in the Bible that they talk about homosexuality?
Leviticus 13.
So I thought, let's go there. One another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their error. It's a sin. It is the enemy coming out in the light. We've been praying that things get drawn out into the light, and now they get drawn into the light, and the church goes and hides. We're finally seeing what we need to go kill. Tolerance is.
So the only thing I can point out there, there's evil in all of us, right? And the religions try to capture that and personify it into a demon, devils, whatever, bad spirits, and you try to like fight some of that animal instinct, some of that immorality, and try to put it into something that's useful and good, and you try to focus and suppress the bad stuff in you, and you become a better person, right? That's where moral and duty comes in, right? And so now we've got these different variations of what some people think are moral and what other people don't think are moral, And then he's just talking about that personification. He's reading from Scripture, and he's also making his own, or his interpretation of it, and says, look, we're pulling the bad, the evil, the bad spirits out of you, the devil, and we've got it out in the light. And he's complaining about, some churches being wishy-washy and just going and hiding, but now you know what you have to kill, right? That's it. He's not talking about killing gay people. He's talking about killing sin, killing what he thinks is bad. If somebody has urges to be a murderer but has never murdered, you kill those urges. You don't kill the person who hasn't murdered yet. It makes sense.
Killing the church. The other thing is, do you struggle with suicidal thoughts? That's that spirit. Are you fighting with murderous and terroristic thoughts that are against you? Like we're talking about schizophrenia. We have medication for that. No, we have deliverance for that.
Okay, so he also talks about, we over-medicate in this country. There's not a medicine for everything. If you change, like I said earlier in a previous video, if you change your diet, you won't have a lot of these issues. He's saying if you find God, you don't need to take the medication. I think the medication is sales pitch from Big Pharma. I don't think that that's necessary. I don't. Maybe you can fight it through Christ, the answers to your problems. But essentially, this is all reiteration. I'm not really seeing anything that's...
We are...
Okay, so that's it for that video. Jesus, it was only like 3-minute video, and we went 21 minutes describing it. So we'll catch you guys for the next one. I don't know how many more I have or I can get done tonight, but we'll bang out some more. Yeah, I've got 2 videos. I think one of them's like 6 seconds. Well, that one, we might incorporate that one with a different one, just because you guys love seeing me so many times in one night. Peace.